Hello, my name is Tylluan. I'm a solitary pagan witch. I'm an author and the founder of the Wolf and Howl Press. And it's quite a cold, wet, windy August night here tonight. And what I'm going to talk to you about this evening is what are witches called to do? It's an interesting thought, isn't it? You know, sometimes when people say, what is a witch? And where do you begin? So we're going to try this from a slightly different angle. What do you think witches are called to do? And in my case, what do I think witches are called to do? What do I think I'm called to do? I think part and parcel is to accept that there's no such thing as a witch. We don't all do the same thing. We get called, each of us, according to our talents. So some people have particular talents that lend themselves, say, to healing. And healing itself can take many different forms. So you can have people who will feel they want to do healing with individuals, with people who have illnesses, sicknesses, with people who need some kind of talking therapies. They also, some will feel called to help healing within groups. Some will feel called to help with healing animals, and still others will feel called to help healing within the earth. Now, I think one of the things that does mark witches out is our relationship with Mother Earth. I don't say it applies to all pagans equally, I don't know. But speaking for myself as a witch, I would say that my relationship with the earth, in some shape or form, has been there since the very early days. In some form, it's been there with wanting to get to know about the earth. So, you know, I've gone through phases where I've been interested in, say, geology, or botany, or herb law. And you go on from there. And then I've wanted to know about weather. And gradually, it's a question of almost adding on all the time, of building up a jigsaw, if you like. You've got one piece, then you add another bit, then another bit. They're all different, but they're all part of the whole. So I think that's really an important thing. And I think one thing, even if you're not particularly keen on, you know, doing geology or something, I think most witches will tell you that they feel they're called to help protect the earth. So I think that things like fracking, for example, I don't think you will find many witches who are enthusiastic supporters of fracking, because let's face it, that's almost like raping the earth. And since we have this sensitive, close relationship, many of us, with the earth, that is obviously always going to be a very, very controversial point. How on earth can you support something that does that? And likewise, I think if witches had been more vocal, say 150 years ago, we would have had a lot more opposition to things like mining. Now, where I live in what used to be a coal mining area. And we live with the consequences of it now, you know. Part and parcel of what is up above the house is mountain. And then the mines would have their little railway lines up there, and they'd carry all the slurry and the slag and they'd dump it on top. Well, of course, given I live in a very, very wet area, it's almost always raining here, you can imagine what happens. The rain comes down, it soaks all the coal and the slurry, and it sends it all down the side of the mountain. And this stuff is quite toxic in its own right. You're not going to get plants growing easily on it. So the very things that would have grown on the side of the mountain and helped to fix the earth there, things like trees, shrubs, they don't grow easily because of the way that the earth itself has been poisoned. And of course the most graphic example of that, people in Wales, obviously, you've only got to say the name, Aberfan. But outside of Wales, you may not. I know we have a lot of viewers outside Wales, and you may not have heard it. Well, in 1966, there was a couple of valleys over from me, There was a very wet weather, and there was a lot of coal and rubbish had all been dumped on this mountainside decades before. It all started to move, and it moved early one morning, and it engulfed a school, and it killed over 140 children, smothered to death. Quite shocking. So yes, you know, the idea of mining and ripping things out and shoving stuff here and there without a thought for how to preserve the balance, it doesn't work, does it? We have to be constantly mindful, and I think this mindfulness is a keynote of being a witch. You have to be mindful, you have to give it some thought. Don't just sort of rush in with blinkers on. Oh, that's a great idea, I can make money, whoosh, there I go. No, we shouldn't do that. I'd like to say we don't do that, but human nature being what it is, I'm sure there are some witches out there who see nothing wrong in it. I do. I think we have to be very careful. We have to try and preserve things. There are times when we get it wrong, and we get it wrong accidentally or because we've put something off. That's one thing. To get it wrong in pursuit of profit is quite another. So, yeah, it's a sombre note, but then these things are sombre. What is a witch called to do? A witch is called to try and heal in some shape or form. A witch is called upon to try and maintain balance, to try and help heal the earth. And it's not an easy task. As solitaries, it's very easy to feel it's totally beyond us, that we ought to be in some nice big group doing it. The trouble with being in a nice big group doing anything is that everybody's got different ideas of how to do it. So don't be put off being a solitary. Do your little bit, however small, however tiny what you do is. Just do what you can. And that should really be our watchword, you know. Do what we can. Do our best. Give it our best shot. And thank you very much for listening. Goodbye.